Thank you so much, Josh, for your warm welcome as always. And thank you, Lisa, for sponsoring today's practice in loving memory of your father and in support of me. Thank you so much. It's a gift to hold space for our practice today. All right, I want to invite you to begin any way you feel called to begin. So sitting, standing, lying down, hands on your lap, hands on your heart, eyes open or closed or anywhere in between. And just allow your body to move organically for a moment. And just listen to what you need right now. No need to overthink. More important to feel into this moment. And when you found a little bit of room in your body for your breath, just allow yourself to land and take a couple of deep breaths. And then allow that breath to settle into a steady stream, just a natural flow, anything that feels good and natural for you. Just slowing down the motion and truly claiming your seat. Feel the earth rise up to meet you and to hold you. Take the first couple of moments just to notice what you're carrying with you into your practice. And then allow your inner witness to notice a few deeper layers of self beyond the physical body. Emotions that feel present. Thoughts arising. We take this time to notice because we are awakening the muscles of paying attention. And in so doing, we presence ourselves in this moment. We practice trusting ourselves in this moment. Take one more deep breath in gratitude for the opportunity to come together to practice our being. And if you wish, if your eyes were closed, you can open them or you can keep them closed. All right, so I'm going to offer a little bit of instruction, some framing, and invitation for practice, and then we'll continue with quiet meditation. So we are ever closer to the end of the Torah cycle, of course, the end of the year, the end of the Israelites' journey into the Promised Land, although that journey keeps on going. And in this week's Parsha, Ki Tetzei actually contains the most mitzvot of any Parsha. I think it's like 74. But to me, it always feels like Moshe is trying to kind of cram in all the final instructions he can relay in the time he has left. And as somebody who has children launching into the new year of college, I often feel that way at this time of year. How many reminders can I impart? So after a litany of these commandments that would probably leave any one of us totally overwhelmed by all the responsibilities and the stakes, we're introduced to 3 words of instruction which stopped me in my tracks as I prepared for today's sit. So here's the context. Chapter 22 of Deuteronomy opens with the instruction that if you find someone's ox or sheep who has gone astray, you are responsible to return the animal to its owner. And if you can't find the owner, then you're actually responsible to bring it home with you until someone claims it. And lest you think that this is totally obscure and ancient and irrelevant to our lives. This literally happened this past Sunday when my husband was out for his morning run, and there was a dog that was on the loose and without an owner, and trying to figure out how to get the dog back home, wherever that was. So not so ancient as it seems. All right. So back to the text. The last 3 words of this instruction, and Jet, if you can pull up the text, that would be great. The last 3 words are lo tuchal lehitalem. Lo tuchal lehitalem. You may not hide yourself, or you may not disappear. So Rashi interprets this phrase as you should not cover your eyes and pretend you didn't see it. And when my husband was relaying this story to me, he's actually not really a dog person. And so where I thought he was going to go with the story is I just closed my eyes and ran the other way, but he didn't. So I would like to use these 3 words as the inspiration for our practice today, because what they imply to me, even beyond this specific mitzvah of returning an animal or a lost object, is don't hide. Let's stop pretending we don't see what's here. And I don't know about you, but for me, in my meditation practice, so much of it is about coming out of hiding to myself. It's a practice in which I try to stop pretending that I don't see, whether it's something external or internal. And it's, as we say so often, it's an invitation to practice emet, honest looking, and then to meet that quality of emet, of truth, with chesed, with compassion. And Elul is the perfect time for the intensification of this work. So again, I don't know about you, but in particular, I have a tendency to hide from the really unpleasant stuff. But meditation invites us to not only look at those parts and meet them with kindness, but to elevate them as offerings on the altar of our lives. And for those of you who practiced yesterday with Mira, it was so beautiful. And she talked about, with the help of a text from the Me'ori Naim, about welcoming whatever comes and then lifting it up as a way of connecting to the divine, which is so much aligned with what I had planned to share today. And so to transition us into practice, I wanted to share with you, which is on the text sheet, the beautiful words of our beloved teacher, Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg, from her poem, The Altar of My Life, from her book, Let Us All Breathe Together. And so again, feel free to keep your eyes open, but if you're ready to close them, by all means. The altar of my life. Doubt. You are a plump, furry gray cat. You plop on my lap. I am pinned in place. The old sofa sags, the springs hang down. You know I am afraid of you. Bulky, shedding hair on my clean clothes. I am afraid of you, and you know it. Envy. Rushing in from the cold, you slice my skin and shred the soft flesh. It hurts. Can I think of you as a helium balloon drifting toward the sun? Fear. A photograph in a gold frame covered with glass sits atop a closet, face down. Little girls with long brown braids on a pony, large brown eyes, hands grip the saddle. The slightest smile on her lips, afraid to do or say the wrong thing. Desire, fill me so I won't feel empty. Something sweet, shiny, smooth. Something that will make all the pain dissolve and not leave a stain. Fill me with something that will make me stop feeling, make me perfect, happy, safe, wise, now. God of mercy, this is what I offer you upon the altar of my life. Doubt, fear, envy, desire. So here's my invitation for practice. Lo tuchal hitalem. Don't hide yourself. Allow what might otherwise be concealed to be seen, and then offer it up on the altar of your life. Let's take our seat again. Your eyes can be open, closed, or anywhere in between. Take a couple of deep breaths just to center yourself in this moment. Feel the pieces of you come together. And as you inhale, notice if you can bring into your being any part of you that may have gone missing, maybe like that ox or sheep gone astray. As you inhale, lead the ox home. Gently lead that part of you home. This is a moment to call into our being that sense of ourself as pieced together. No need to hide from ourselves. Every thought, feeling, and sensation is welcome. Nothing to conceal. And as you take note of what is showing up, even if it's just the quality of truth and authenticity of self, allow that to ride the breath and lovingly place it on the altar of your life. Let's sit. I'll bring us together with the sound of my voice. Feel yourself awakening into this body born of your practice. As we bring our practice to a close, I invite you to rest your hands on your lap, palms up, in a gesture of offering, a gesture of openness. Thank yourself for showing up to this practice of wholeness. Thank each other for holding space for our collective work of coming out of hiding. In community, we courageously commit to seeing what we see, to not pretending that our eyes or our inner eyes didn't see it. Because when we are willing to see the truth of things, even when we encounter some part of ourselves which is lost, we have the gift of walking it home. May this practice contribute towards the healing and wholeness of all of us and all beings. Shalom. 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 Turn it over to Josh.
Thank you, Jenny. And during this month of Elul, we're concluding our practice with blowing the shofar. And today, a wonderful member of our community, Richard Shiner, is here to blow the shofar for us. Richard. We're going to have a chance to reflect on the practice with Jenny in just a moment. We're going to now offer the opportunity for those who are remembering loved ones today to do so by saying Kaddish. If you'd like to put the name of anyone you're holding in heart or mind today as you say Kaddish into the chat, you're welcome to, and then we'll put the text of the prayer up on the screen. And if you'd like to, I'll invite you to unmute and you can join me and the rest of the community in reciting the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, v'yitkadash,
May Rabbi
Amen.
Shlama Rabba Mishamaya, Hayim Alenu Ve'al Yisrael Ve'emru Amen. Shalom B'Ramav, Asa Shalom, Alenu Ve'al Yisrael Ve'emru Amen. Osa Shalom B'Ramav, Huyasa Shalom, Alenu Ve'al Yisrael Ve'al Yoshvei Tevel Ve'emru Amen.
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 If you need to leave, Tzidchem l'shalom, wish you a farewell and look forward to seeing you again. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. And in the meantime, I'll invite Jenny back up. Come back up on the stage, Jenny.
I'm here.
As always, for managing our tech back end so capably. Jenny, I was, really struck. I'm also struck by the lo tuchal lehitalem, right? Not averting our gaze and our eyes, and that poem by Sheila was really something. And I'd be curious for everybody, what are the things that and this is a question for you, Jenny, also, is just reflecting on, if you're willing, are there things that particularly are coming to mind or into focus this year for you during Elul, of parts of, that you're really trying not to look away from? I mean, that poem by Sheila is such an invitation to go in a lot of different directions that you could. So yeah, I'm wondering what's on your Elul list this year.
Well, one of the things that I continually notice is there are certain things that I put up on the altar very habitually. Gratitude is one of those things. I'm one of those people for whom that just is that is a habitual thing, which is not a bad thing to say, but it is often at the expense of not looking at other parts of myself that are just far more difficult to encounter. So one of the things that I'm intending to put on my own mizbeach of sorts is the courage to look and to notice those parts that feel a little bit less becoming to myself.
A good friend of mine, colleague, came up to me in shul the other day and said, I think that psychoanalysis is the beginning of freedom. I'm like, wow, that's a bold claim. But I think he was saying something very similar about that self-awareness and willingness to look right at the darker sides, the things that aren't as shiny and pleasant, right? That's part of that. That's the work of coming out of Mitzrayim, right? That's the beginning of freedom. Is the exodus from Egypt, is our own constraints, our own Mitzrayims that we're going through.
Yeah, beautiful. And just hearing you speak, I'm remembering back. There was a retreat many retreats ago, and I remember I was a silent retreat with IJS, and I finally made it to sort of near the end of the retreat, and I had my dedicated time with Sheila to speak and reflect upon my experience. And I was just feeling so full and so blessed and strong, not only by virtue of the week of practice, but just sort of where I was at that particular moment in life. And then sure enough, in the couple of hours preceding my time with Sheila, something enormous and daunting and painful surfaced. So the timing was great that I had Sheila to talk to. And one of the things that she said, which I've never forgotten, is that sometimes those things wait online. And I love the image of waiting online. And they wait online until you're ready in a position of relative strength to encounter it, to see it. So I continue to find that really helpful. That it is precisely the fact that I feel well-resourced in general, that I can sort of take on the next layer, peeling away the next layer, see what's underneath.
Yeah, beautiful. And there's some things going on in the chat that I want to just note here. And Deborah, that it looks like your mom is ill, and definitely sending you refuah shlema for her, or actually not even just refuah shlema, but actually as whatever ease and comfort can be brought at this time. And I think actually that goes to the question that Deborah's asking, is how to the question I see you asked, Deborah, was how to enjoy the holidays now that your mom is ill. And I think what comes up for me is interestingly enough, Rosh Hashanah, at least, is not a day on which the appropriate greeting is Chag Sameach. It's not. I've had a pet peeve about this since I was like 18. I struggled a little bit. It's not actually a chag. It's not a joy. It's not meant to be necessarily only a joyous day. And I think as any rabbi will tell you, Rosh Hashanah, you can write a drasha for Rosh Hashanah on anything. It's got everything in it. Rosh Hashanah and Hanukkah, the two easiest holidays to write a sermon on. You can write anything about them, but Rosh Hashanah really contains everything. And I think that the message there is that it is about looking honestly at what is, and just being able to be present with what is. And it's not always pleasant. It's not always happy, but hopefully it's in the company of loved ones. It's hopefully with a sense of support and the ability to look and see clearly what is. And if pain is here, okay, pain is here and we can sit with that. And if loss is here, loss is here and we can sit with that. And so I don't know, Jenny, if you have something to say about that, but that's what arose for me as I was listening, both listening to you and also reading Deborah's question.
I mean, sure, obviously it depends on where you are in the world geographically, but I'm always touched since I live in a place where there's a fall season, that Rosh Hashanah appears in the fall when the leaves are shedding and we're experiencing kind of the end of the growing season or a growing season. Like, that doesn't seem to me to be a coincidence to be able to acknowledge loss, in addition to gratitude for having arrived at the beginning of a new year.
Mm-hmm. There's a question that Laura just raised. How does one begin to uncover and explore those internal things that have been buried for so very long? How does one even discern what is versus one would wish it to be? Light questions, Laura.
For this, I would say I find a partner very helpful. So whether your chavruta is a psychoanalyst or a good friend or a study partner, we all have blind spots, and that is part of the human experience. So it's helpful to have other people to lovingly point out those places that are hard to wrench our neck around to see.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, even without a partner per se, the more space that I make to look, the more I find. And so I think that's been really helpful to me, is just making a little bit more space. When I don't make the space, I definitely don't find things. Short response.
Yeah, I think Harris's point here of, right, it strikes me that we have to make ourselves vulnerable, not only to others, but to ourselves, right? Absolutely. That's sometimes the hardest people to the people who we are hardest with are ourselves, and we don't allow ourselves to look inward. And that certainly can be true of even people in helping professions, psychologists, psychiatrists, rabbis, right? Great at casting the gaze outward, but not necessarily always looking inward, right? Absolutely. Okay. And Sandy had just something about being haunted at not seeing something but never telling any about it. And it sounds like this is potentially like I don't want to speculate. It sounds powerful. And I wonder, Jenny, if you want to reflect on that, if that it's not necessarily always possible to we might see something, but then have to kind of avert for our own self-protection, right? Not be able to necessarily act on that in the moment, and I wonder how you think about that.
Yeah, it's actually a really beautiful question. It's like, what happens when we do need to avert our eyes, and not just to protect our own peace, but really for our own sense of safety. And I think that happens too. So I'm really glad you raised that. And I guess one possible response is that our meditation practice can be a place where we can admit what we saw in truth, but then hold that in compassion. and just know that, sometimes other people also will come to help in ways that are better suited. It's such a light example, but I'm thinking back to the whole little dog incident that happened with my husband, Eric, on Sunday. He was just like totally clueless, like how to get the dog to come to him and the dog tag. And he was fuddling around. And soon enough, there were 3 other neighbors that he didn't know that created this chevra to help get this dog home. And so sometimes when I see something and I know that I'm not best suited to help or I can't help, I say a little prayer that other helpers will come.
I think about, that my mother-in-law, when my wife was little, that she taught her that when you hear an ambulance going by, right, to, have a little tefillah that the ambulance should get to where it's going, in time. And right, which is exactly that. I can't do anything about it. The ambulance is going, but I can at least, offer something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you've got your own struggle going on here, right? Yeah, these are really difficult things, and they're not, as I said before, I think one of the difficulties, not with difficulties, but one of the challenges about Rosh Hashanah and the season that we're in is like, actually Yom Kippur is a happier day than Rosh Hashanah. Most of, I think, sounds like true in the experience that many of us have, but because of the food. But from a experiential standpoint or a theological standpoint, Yom Kippur is this beautiful, wonderful day of forgiveness and intimacy and all sorts of things. And Rosh Hashanah is a much more multi-layered, multicolored day that is about again looking and seeing clearly what is, and that's a good thing. Right. It's that like not everything is meant to necessarily be, it's not all the shiny, happy things. The shofar has both the tekiah and the shvarim. It's both the whole notes and the broken notes. And we want to be looking at all of it and be able to go to all of those places. So yeah, it's not surprising that, brokenness is coming up in some of the comments here. Yeah.
And my practice is also a place where, sometimes I can't be helpful. I mean, somebody here, Beryl, was talking about estrangement. I mean, we have loved ones who are ill or struggling. I mean, these are things where we wish maybe that we could be effective in changing and helping, and we can't always. And yet I still find, and this is something that my practice has offered me, like, I can still wish them well. I can still offer compassion. I can still hold them in mercy, or myself in mercy, with all my limitations. And I just feel like energetically that is still incredibly powerful, even if it doesn't necessarily change the facts on the ground.
All right, some other comments that are coming in here. Oh, hold on. There's one more that Laura asked a question. We got time for one more question. Would you say a few words about offering these truths up to the divine, the one?
Well, I love that, Laura. Thank you so much for reminding us that, sometimes when I don't even know what to say to myself. I think it's so powerful to just be able to offer it up and to lean in. I love to plan. I love to control things. I'm one of those people. And so to be able to just set it up on the altar, so to speak, or lift it up and let God meet me and hold me in that place is a real strong corrective on my own neshama. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good place for us to land, I think. The conversation continues, never really ends, but we'll pause it here. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Jenny, thank you so much for a wonderful sit and this wonderful conversation. And we'll be back tomorrow. I think Mark is here tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not. And I won't be here next week. I'm going to be on my own retreat next week. So I'll see you all in a couple weeks. And in the meantime, well wishes to everybody, and we'll see you soon again. Take care.